You have to look at another bubble when it bursts, like Japan or the Great Financial Crisis, and you have to kind of draw those parallels and see what's similar, even if in some ways they're different. Through the channel, I've had, and this was all like in my mind before the channel and everything like that. I came to the conclusion that there has to be a fraud component to this market and to this banking system.
Yeah, a
But
little bit. Yeah.
through the channel, like I've now heard from people on the inside who say it's not just a little problem, it's a massive problem. And you even hear from like the credit bureaus like Equifax, TransUnion, that the mortgage fraud didn't just go up last year. It constituted like over 50% of all fraud types, which is just insane when you think of the
Uh-huh.
large amounts of money people are buying into these markets at. Like they're huge amounts. So I disagree on the point that the banking system is solid because that's like a false sense of security that everybody gets into before a bubble bursts, unfortunately. Like if you'd asked, in fact, you don't even have to ask, it's all out there in the US before 2008. And I know it's different. It is different structurally. Like we haven't got liar loans, at least I don't think, and things like that. But we have
Yes,
other
we do.
dodgy mortgages that are going to do the exact same thing. And when you also go back to 2008, and I believe that's what you have to do, you have to look at another bubble when it bursts, like Japan or the Great Financial Crisis. And you have to kind of draw those parallels and see what's similar, even if in some ways they're different. And I look at like the loans. I mean, 2008, most people believe that was a subprime crisis. It actually wasn't. Most of the foreclosures were prime. This report came out in 2015 by the MBER. I've covered it many times. I think I even covered it this week on my channel. But the thing is, that report, it actually says how most of the foreclosures, contrary to popular belief, contrary to The Big Short and all these movies, were prime borrowers. But the thing is, it started in subprime. And it's like I said, that's where it's always going to start. If you think about it logically, the recession is always going to hit those with the least amount of money first, the riskiest buyers first. It's always going to hit those people with the private lenders. But eventually it's going to trickle down to everybody else. And who's your main buyer is the prime borrower with good credit. But the thing is, even if you've got good credit, good job, and you've got a couple of investment properties, if you're leveraged and your renters suddenly stop paying and you can't kick them out, you
You lose
can
your
run
job
into
and
yeah, you can run into trouble really fast. And that's what happened in 2008. Like a lot of these markets, people had investment properties. They thought this is a safe thing. Renting out a house, it's safe. But in reality, in a recession, it's far from safe. And I think any landlord getting into the game is foolish. And believe me, like the dumb money doesn't stop flowing. It just changes where it goes. Like, I mean, you want to see dumb money, come to Calgary because all these Ontario landlords are rushing in, like buying 90% of the condos. I know one person who works up in Airdrie, a master plan community, and another guy who works down in the south through the channel again. And they're saying like 90% of the buys for condos are from Ontario.
Yeah.
And I even heard from a buyer this week from Ontario. I put it on Twitter, who bought a condo because he caved into FOMO from Ontario. And then he tried to rent it out, realized there was no way he was getting the rents that he was told by the realtors and everybody else. And the credit quality of the people he was getting was horrible. So he sold that. And then his realtor said, yeah, the buyer was another buyer from Ontario. So they're just trading assets. They're trading tokens. It is
yeah.
like it's like dumb drunk people in Vegas at a poker table. I mean, if you want to beat people at poker easily, go to Vegas and go there at like 2 a.m. sober, and it's easy because everyone's pissed up and It's just anyway. I'm giving
So is
away
that
my
Calgary
secret.
right now? It's like the guy's
That's how he's
pissed
making
up
all
at
his money.
2 in
That's
the
where he's gonna
morning.
go. Yeah. I think you're totally right about the a lot of the points, especially about the subprime. I believe that the majority would have been prime mortgages, because then the problem was exacerbated, and then at that point the value of your home was so low, and that those foreclosure options were there to just drop your keys in the mailbox and walk away, because you were like, there's no equity in this house anymore. Your
Right.
20, 30, 40% equity disappeared on you, right?
Yeah.
The only
That was a
reason
government program, by the way, TK. Cash for keys.
So it was a government program that said
Yeah, that was like a government
cash for keys.
program to
Yeah.
get people out. It
Yeah.
was basic, so it wasn't like the lenders giving that money, it was the government.
The government. Okay, I didn't know that. But that's what they were doing. They were walking away
Yeah, but
and
they were
just
walking
putting the
away
keys in the
from
mailbox and
a
saying
little bit of equity. Yeah, not like
Yeah.
now. Like the
sometimes no
average.
equity.
Well, they had
Negative.
that,
Some of them were negative equity
but they had at some point when they bought it, they
when they
had
first
equity,
bought.
right?
Sure.
Right. But now you're walking away. If you have a place in Toronto, like it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's a different decision than back, in the 80s when you were walking away from, 50 grand on your $250,000 house, which might have been a lot of money back then. But I think it's a different decision when you're like thinking
Prices in Canada are
hundreds.
higher too. Yeah.
Like, comment, and subscribe if you got anything from one of these clips. And if you want to see some more, press something on the screen here. Boom.
That was good.
That was good. I like that. That was good.